Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here. In today's video, we'll be doing a review of the Switch 2, so let's get into it. Now, the first thing that really jumps out to me is that the overall set of launch titles seem pretty weak. Now, one of them that I did enjoy is Mario Kart, and that is the bundle I actually got that came with the Mario Kart World game. But that, in reality, is pretty much the only unique launch title to the system. Again, many of the games that have come out at launch are either just upgraded versions of original Switch 1 titles, or maybe ports from other systems that have been available for a long time, and now the Switch 2 is just finally powerful enough to actually play them. Again, this can be games like Cyberpunk or Street Fighter 6, Hogwarts Legacy. Now, while that was playable on Switch 1, it runs a lot better now on Switch 2. And again, you've got the other various Switch titles like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and much more. Again, as someone that thoroughly played their Nintendo Switch and has other systems, I've often played many of these games on superior systems in the sense that their performance is much better, the graphic quality is higher, various things like that. So there's not really a reason for me to go out and purchase these games a second time just to play them on Nintendo Switch. Again, it's not really a selling point for me to replay a game that's been enhanced. I'm all about remasters and HD remasters, various things like that. But when you're upgrading games from the previous system, it's just not as exciting for me when there's not a massive leap forward. Again, if you're remastering a game from 20 years ago, a couple of system generations ago, and it's a night and day difference, something like the Resident Evil 4 remake, or other games like that, I'm all about it, and I really enjoy those. But again, if you're just having minor graphical improvements or minor performance enhancements, it's just not really exciting for me. And so I think that's one of the key weak points of the Nintendo Switch 2, especially at launch, is that it's really lacking in launch titles. I'm super excited for the new Donkey Kong game to come out, but again, that's still a ways off. Now, while I like Mario Kart, I just wish there was more to play during this launch window. Another gripe I have is that it's not necessarily as powerful as even the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, which were sort of the last gen systems or the current gen that are out right now. And so if you're looking at a new generation coming out, in this case the Nintendo Switch 2, and coming out and falling short of even those of the current generation, it's a little unfortunate. Again, I'm not super into frame rates and refresh rates and everything like that on the technical side, but it's a little bit disappointing to see the new Switch system come out and still fall short of other current gen systems. And if it's anything like the original Switch, that system was out for many years, and so I'm sure they'll have another next generation like the PlayStation 6, a new Xbox system, whatever the case might be, that this new Nintendo Switch is still not going to be able to play those games either. Another thing that's a little frustrating is that it seemed like instead of making a more powerful system, they tried to include a bunch of gimmicks that most people don't really care about, or new features that aren't really that exciting, or that really make me want to go out and get this system. So for example, having the camera feature, I don't really care about that at all. I don't foresee myself using that whatsoever. I certainly don't want to buy a separate camera just to use for the Switch. And I really don't think it's going to enhance my gaming experience by any means. And it's probably never a feature I'll even use on the system. So that was a little bit of a letdown. It's like, yes, it's a cool feature to have, but I don't really care about it at all. And it's probably not something I'm willing to spend money on, or that would be a game changer of why I would need to get the system. Same thing is the in-game chat. That's basically something that's been around for years, and Nintendo is finally catching up and having that available. But they seem to be making a really huge deal of it when it should just be a standard feature of a given system at this point. And so again, cool to have, but not really a game changer, and nothing that really makes me want to go out and buy this system, or that would justify myself spending the money on getting this new system at launch. Another feature this system has is the mouse features of the Joy-Con. There haven't really been any games that I've wanted to use that with at this point. I suppose I could bust out Fortnite and try using it there. But at the same time, it's just another feature that I don't really care about. I prefer to play games with controllers, and I feel like that's one area that Nintendo in general is always trying to do with every new system, is come up with some kind of unique gimmick that's going to make their system stand out. Motion controls was a big thing with the Nintendo Wii, and even then there were a few games that I liked with that, but for the most part I didn't really care about that. I would have preferred to just play with a standard controller, and typically that's the route I go with. Even with the new remasters and remakes that they've released, like The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword in recent years, where you can still use the motion controls similar to the Wii when it came out, I still preferred playing that with the regular controller versus trying to use the Joy-Cons. And again, that in general, they've got an enhanced Joy-Con that's got the magnetic side grips, which is cool. Again, you can turn that into the mouse, which is great. But again, just something I don't really care about. I would just rather have a solid controller. 99% of the time I'm playing the Switch, it's in docked mode and I'm using a Pro controller. And I really just foresee myself doing the exact same thing with Nintendo Switch 2. So while these are quote-unquote upgrades for the system, I just don't feel like it's anything I'm ever gonna really use that much or really be overly excited about. Another frustrating element is the online service for Nintendo. Again, something that I just don't really think is worth it. I look at something like enhancing the Mario Kart World, being able to play online with friends, different things like that. Great, but it's just another service I just don't really want to pay for and isn't really going to escalate games to the next level. I look at other systems, like if I play on my Steam Deck or PC gaming, that multiplayer online aspect is just free. It's nothing I have to pay for extra. This is just an add-on service for Nintendo. That hasn't changed at all with the Switch 2. If anything, they're really pushing to get the expansion pass one, which is more expensive, so you can play other games like GameCube games, which is new to this system. But again, I have a GameCube, I have all the games that they're talking about, so it's not that enticing for me to get this system and to sign up for this upgraded expansion pack subscription service just to be able to replay some of these classic games. Another negative is the introduction of $80 games, starting with Mario Kart World. Thankfully, I bought the system with it bundled in. Otherwise, if I would have bought this separately, I would have been pretty upset about it. Don't get me wrong, Mario Kart World is a really fun game. I love the courses, I love the different features like the Knockout Tour, which is kind of like a battle royale in Mario Kart where you try and be in a certain place after each lap cut off, otherwise you're eliminated from the race. It's a really cool thing. I think they've really enhanced the graphics of it. The controls are incredibly responsive. They also added in a couple different battle modes, which is cool. So you have one new one where you're collecting coins and you need to have the most coins at the end of each round. And then the rounds add together in a cumulative fashion where the overall winner will have the most coins overall. And again, there's the battle mode that they reintroduced from Nintendo 64. That's where I played it most, at least. And they really enhanced it, having way more players, computer players, but then you can also play local co-op as well in this mode. They also added a free roam option where it's kind of an open world element to the game, but for me, it's still a little bit boring. They do have little challenges here and there that you can find that will have you completing random racing-based tasks, which was cool, but at the same time, they're kind of hidden, and it doesn't just indicate on the map where you need to go. Or if they do, I haven't figured that out yet playing. So you're just kind of often roaming around aimlessly, doing nothing, trying to find one of these challenges. At least that's what I do, where when I'm roaming around, doing nothing, even though I'm just driving around and experiencing the environment, it gets a little bit boring after a while. So I like Mario Kart World, and I think if you get this Switch 2, you should definitely get that game, but is it worth $80? I don't think so at all. That's specifically why I got it within the Switch 2 Mario Kart World bundle, so I didn't have to pay $80 for that game. And to think that that's the new standard, especially if the Switch 2 isn't going to be able to handle these more powerful games of this current generation, that's a little bit frustrating as well. Now, one thing that is cool is that a lot of your controllers are going to actually be backwards compatible, so you can use them on the Switch 2, so that's really cool. But a side note with that is frustrating is that none of these controllers can actually turn your system on. I know it's a minimal gripe, but I had a few different Pro controllers for the original Switch. That was my favorite controller to use, but those don't actually turn the system on anymore. So I'd still either have to walk over to the system and turn it on, or turn it on with a different controller first, and then sync these other controllers up with the system to be able to start playing with them. So it's just an added step that seems a little bit unnecessary and a little bit frustrating, and it almost feels intentional, like they're forcing you to get these new controllers because the old ones don't turn it on. I know it's a super minor inconvenience, but it was enough for me to get a new Switch 2 Pro controller. But again, I kind of feel like I overpaid for that just for the feature to be able to turn the system on. Again, the other features are nice to have, but don't really care about at all. For example, it has the headphone jack. Again, something that's great and a good addition, but is kind of standard among controllers these days. So to tout that it's this amazing new feature is a little bit annoying. Also, the fact that you can get into chat by the push of a button, great. Not really a feature I'm really planning on using at all with the system. So again, another unnecessary thing for me to have to spend extra money on to get that feature when I don't really care about it at all. It does have some cool programmable buttons on the back, but I will say, again, something I've never used on a controller in the past. A nice feature to have, but I'm typically just going to stick with the standard controls that the base controller offers. So having the ability to program extra buttons is great, but again, something I'll probably never use. Another element that I've been hearing about, I haven't done extensive tests on myself, but again, I've heard that it does have worse battery life as a whole compared to the original Switch, which wasn't that great to begin with either. Now, I guess for me, that's not a huge deal. I pretty much primarily play my Switch 2 99% of the time in docked mode, so I can play it on a TV on the big screen. But again, for those of you that are hoping to play this mostly portable, understand that it does have worse battery life to my understanding as well. Another thing that I wish they would have fixed is the dock itself. It seems like the design was overly complex for no reason and not user-friendly, where you have to actually take off the back of the dock to be able to access the AC adapter port and the HDMI port. I don't know why they couldn't have just built that into the side with the USB ports, making it much easier to plug in the cords without having to deal with taking the back plate on and off. Another element that's a little bit frustrating is it has a front face plate in the way, so you kind of slide the Switch 2 in, which is cool, I guess, that protects it, but at the same time, it doesn't fit in any of the shelves that I have, which is probably just a minor gripe, but again, you can't put it in there and then take the Switch up because it hits the ceiling of the shelf, and so you can't even get the system out. And so I have other third-party docks that I've played and used in the past that are open-faced that you can still just set the Switch down on and it stays there just fine. You can take it in and out and it works just fine in regular shelving. But again, they went with this route on the new model as well, like the original, which makes it just another layer of a little bit inconvenient, which again is not a huge deal, but all of these minor inconveniences and annoyances put together make it a little bit frustrating. Now, I know it sounds like I really hate this system and it's the worst system of all time. I don't think I would say that. There are a lot of great features. I like that it's backwards compatible. So far, I've really enjoyed Mario Kart World. I don't think it's worth $80, but I do think it's a good game. I'm excited for many of the upcoming titles for the Switch, but I feel like this launch was pretty weak. And so like the title of this video suggests, I think it's not a great system right now for your average gamer. And if it wasn't for me playing games to run this channel, I definitely would have waited until there's maybe a price drop or at least there was some better games to check out beyond just Mario Kart World. And so I think overall it feels like a better version of the original Switch, but it's still probably going to fall short compared to other systems. So it's probably mainly for those that want to play Nintendo exclusive games, your Marios, your Zeldas, your Donkey Kongs, different things like that. But if you're looking for this to be your end-all be-all system to do everything, it's probably going to fall a bit short. And it almost feels like more of just like a revision or an enhanced Switch console than the advanced next generation of Nintendo like it's been pitched to be. Given that, it's probably a bit overpriced at this time as well, based on what you can do with it, the limited game library at launch, and the somewhat marginal improvements compared to the Switch 1. I'm sure I'm definitely going to keep playing this system and future games will come out that I'm going to continue to be excited about and ready to play. But at this point, it does feel like a little bit of a letdown. But I think if you're judging, should I get a Switch 2? Should I wait? Should I hold off to some other games come out or maybe wait till a price drop? That would most likely be my recommendation for the average gamer, to hold off a bit and not pick it up right now. Wait it out till more great games come out or even a price drop happens and then go ahead and pick it up at that point. But overall, those are my thoughts on the Switch 2. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you picking one of these up? Have you picked one up already? If you did pick one up, are you feeling like you have some buyer's remorse? Or are you more than happy with how it's performing and the games available so far? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you did want to pick up a Switch 2, I'll have a link in the description below where you can do so. And if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button as it really helps out the channel.
And another really cool way you can help support the channel is we actually partnered with a game store, Nutmeg Games. So if you like board games, Pokemon cards, Magic cards, and more, be sure to head to nutmeggames.com/nerdproblemsgaming and use our promo code nerdproblemsgaming at checkout. You'll get 10% off your order and help support the channel at the same time. So if you want to take advantage of those great deals, be sure to head there as well.
And if you like videos like this on video games, board games, and everything nerdy, check out one of our other videos here. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.